Hello, everybody. Welcome to CloudBees and the talk on DevOps. Really, it's about your DevOps transformation. Um, for those of you that don't know what DevOps is not just putting development and operations together or just adding security into the mix of things. It is really about collaboration between every aspect of your software delivery lifecycle from development all the way through to post-production, including testing and security. What do I mean by post-production? Uh, think of monitoring and visibility of your applications once they've been deployed to production, right? So in essence, DevOps is integration of security and testing, for example, into your SDLC, a shared responsibility, collaboration, right? So that you can deliver faster and more secure software to production. As we look at DevOps, you have to have some very specific areas of your software development lifecycle that you need to address, right? Uh, what I'm showing you here are the different pillars of DevOps. For those of you that know continuous integration, maybe, or continuous delivery or CI/CD, well, those are just one or two of those important pieces that you have to address when you look at DevOps. So DevOps is a powerful framework that enables many benefits for organizations that use it. Achieving performance efficiently with DevOps depends on the following best practices. By following these six pillars, uh, you can achieve and sustain and improve the performance of what DevOps has to offer and the performance of your software delivery lifecycle, or what I call the software factory. So we'll start off by looking at continuous integration. The continuous integration pillar has to do with how changes to software code and build artifacts are built or compiled, right? This is the assembly of your software um, so that they can be packaged and deployed as executable artifacts into production. The continuous delivery pillar refers to practices for preparing release artifacts for deployment to production. So when you're looking at a release is made up of many applications put together. And those applications are going from the test environment to, the QA or the staging environment or to production. And so the continuous delivery pillar is preparing these artifacts for each one of those particular stages. And you might have gates in between that need to be addressed. For example, maybe a manual approval, very specifically in regulated environments where somebody has to approve for an artifact to go from one environment to the next. The continuous test pillar has to do with how tests are used to assess software code and build artifacts changes to ensure that they meet the requirements for release. Now, testing is a very, very large area. So you might have performance testing, systems testing, unit testing, which really starts over on the continuous integration side, right? So all the data from all these test suites come together and provide a bigger picture on how your software is doing as it goes from development to production. In many cases, you might try to use even AI to help you predict which tests might need to be improved, right? And so there's a lot of areas within testing itself where you can apply AI itself. So the test pillar is a very, very critical piece. The continuous compliance and security pillar includes DevSecOps practices for integrating security into applications, databases, pipelines, infrastructure, all within the scope of your continuous delivery pipeline. In a lot of cases, you might add compliance, which comes in the form of regulatory compliance. Maybe you want to deal with GDPR or SOX compliance or NIST compliance. Those are additional guardrails that your software development lifecycle needs. Orchestration release automation can be considered a pillar as well, because DevOps requires efficient connections and collaboration between people, processes, and technology. Orchestration automation leverages tools arranged as an integrated toolchain to help DevOps teams build out their environments, systems, test setups, etc. So a big part of your SDLC where orchestration release management come into play interact directly with the continuous integration and continuous delivery and continuous testing arenas. Last but not least, the metrics and collaboration pillar has to do with teams and the organization culture within teams. Collaboration between these teams is very, very important. And the best way to do that is provide automated feedback loops within your SDLC or within your tool chain. Now, the culture encourages cross-functional collaboration and shared responsibilities and avoids silos. This is so important to understand, avoiding silos, right? Between dev and ops and QA and security, for example. And the metrics that come out of all this activity creates what we call a software bill of materials. And that data should be clearly visible across all levels of management and development and operations. So what does it take to deliver great products faster and safer, right? We at CloudBees look at 3 specific areas. When you look at DevOps and your DevOps transformation, we distill that into these 3 specific areas. One is developer happiness, the other is operational effectiveness, and the third one is business visibility. But how do you do these things with as little overhead as possible, right? Developer satisfaction is crucial. Developers are just 10% happier, in fact, delivering code 10% faster. What does that mean? Well, if you sped up the delivery of a developer by giving them the ability to use the tools that they like, that keeps them happy. That also speeds up the way they work and delivers software a lot faster. As you also provide that mechanism to the developer, getting businesses the visibility of what's happening within the SDLC is a crucial piece of information that management is always looking to boost performance. So with developer happiness, again, just to reiterate, 10% happier developer is equal to 10% less time needed than an unhappy developer, right? So high quality developer experience has become a critical priority in software delivery, with approximately 58% of software engineering leaders reporting that developer experience is very or extremely critical to the C-suite at their organization. Okay, so keep that in mind. Happy developer is equal to more productivity at the end. The other aspect of this is operational effectiveness. And the way I distill this is that all your pipelines have to be running at all times. Now, what that means is companies are establishing platform teams or SRE teams or shared services teams, which help manage the software factory. All the tools that are connected are managed by these platform teams, right? And so that provides a layer of operational effectiveness that is very, very clear, very, very critical to your to your DevOps transformation. So Things to consider might be, high quality developer experience becoming critical priority in software delivery. Again, but having platform engineering teams that you can establish to help manage those pipelines and the tool chains and the processes to improve that throughput. Okay, and out of all that, how do you bring in all the data that's being generated during the process of software delivery? So business visibility becomes a crucial piece of your DevOps transformation, right? Now, we talked about business visibility as one of those three pillars, but remember, those three pillars are overarching those 6 DevOps pillars that I talked about. But business visibility brings all the metrics coming out of each and every tool and process that is taking place while you're developing and producing software, and making sure that everybody is able to see transparently what is being developed, how it's being developed, where it's being pushed to at any single time is very, very critical. And I'm sure many of you already experience audits within your companies. And audits can be painful, especially if you have to go and find out what software was deployed 6 months ago and you don't have the data through a report or through a single click action. So keep that in mind. Business visibility becomes a huge piece of that puzzle. Now, with that said, there is also a revolution going on right at the same time, which is AI. And if you look at how AI is being used today, we have code generation, testing and debugging, and productivity gains. Within code generation, automation of the generation of code is already there. There's a bunch of tools out there like Codex or Devon that do that for us. On the testing and debugging side, by generating test cases and identifying bugs, that's done with tools like DiffGlue, for example. Great utilities that help you identify. On the cloud-based side, we actually have Launchable, which is a predictive test selection capability that lets you reduce cost, improve your test scenarios, and actually reduce the time to market on your software. On the productivity gains, you have examples like, for example, refactoring your documentation, right? This helps you improve the quality and delivery of your software. So DevOps transformation is a journey facing all organizations, resulting in a hybrid, heterogeneous environment. Now, the fact is that there are many companies out there that are either on-prem entirely or have a hybrid approach or are on the cloud. Very few are on the cloud. Most are in the hybrid and on-prem arena. So hybrid is the new normal, actually, because if you think about it, most companies that are already doing on-prem stuff have this hybrid approach of taking their applications and moving them to half in cloud and half on-prem. So enterprise workloads that will have moved to the cloud by 2027 will probably be right around 50%. And that's being conservative. I expect that number to be slightly lower because not every company is moving fast, right? However, the critical information here is that only 37% of applications, that we know of would have potentially moved to the cloud, which means that you as a company should make sure that you're tooled up in your DevOps tools to make sure that you're able to deploy applications to the cloud. So DevOps or DevSecOps as it is today, it's difficult to keep up. Why? Because there's so many tools, there's so many different areas where you have to code, you have to do things to make sure that your software um, is safe and it's secure, right? So it's important to discuss the impact of AI in your DevOps systems and how necessary it is to adopt some of these AI utilities, right? Especially on the development, on the continuous integration side, on the testing side, on the security side. So it is ultimately important that you start realizing how much AI is going to play a role um, in your DevOps transformation. So as we talk about AI within the scope of your CI/CD automation pipeline, right? You have to look at how AI can bring in the building, the testing, deployment of code in an automated fashion. One of the things that we can do from a QA perspective is automate your test selection. Provide some predictive capabilities around testing so that your tests are more efficient, they are more specific, right? And they're not wasting time just spinning, so that you can reduce the cost of your infrastructure, but at the same time, get the correct results out of your test areas. Security. How important is it to know what your vulnerabilities look like before your software goes out, and to remediate those high priority vulnerabilities? This is another area that AI is going to definitely start catching on to. And I would highly recommend that if you're looking at your DevOps transformation and the tools that you use in the security arena, for example, you need to not only integrate those security tools into your DevOps toolchain, but also make sure that the data that comes out of your security tools is visible to everybody, so that you can remediate your problems a whole lot faster before code goes to production. And last but not least is the impact to software releases, right? So explore how AI and automation can help you revolutionize that release process in your SDLC, in your DevOps toolchain. So some examples that you can see these days is the use of GitHub-like actions, right? Developers today use this very, very heavily. It provides a frictionless type development scheme where workflows are just utilizing actions to build, package, test, deploy software. But what this does is actually allow you a freedom of choice as a developer. I need to be able to use the tools I use on a daily basis to build, package, test my code, right? And so having self-service workflows and visual orchestration of popular tools makes life a lot easier for developers, and this leads to developer happiness. Security and compliance checks. The ability to identify vulnerabilities in your software with actionable information. If I have a high priority CVE, for example, or a high priority critical vulnerability, I need to know what that remediation is, and I need to be able to fix it quickly before it goes to production. If my CVE is a critical CVE, for example, or a high priority, and maybe there are tools out there that allow you, use AI to actually remediate immediately, that's another aspect that I think you should be looking at. And last but not least, it's the metrics. Remember, business visibility. This is where having dashboards like what you're seeing on the screen come very handy, right? You have software delivery metrics. What was delivered, where, when, by whom, my deployment frequency, the number of applications deployed to specific environments, my churn, my CVEs, all that information in these different types of dashboards become very, very critical. And being able to dissect that information by who needs to see it. For example, a developer might need to see only what they're deploying, but a manager needs to know how many applications were deployed to a specific environment. But the CFO, or I'm sorry, the CTO or the CIO might just say, give me what my risk management score is across all my applications that are being deployed to production. So different layers of information for different people. And I think it's ultimately important that you understand that business visibility is what gives the drive behind the transformation. So you have to make sure that you have visibility across your entire software development lifecycle. So now what, right? To elevate your DevOps, you have to, maybe you're using AI for specific areas. You're integrating AI into DevOps to maintain and enhance your continuous development on operational systems. You might be using or creating self-sufficient pipelines that handle failures and retries autonomously. You might be using semi and fully autonomous processes in DevOps to include your CI/CD pipeline creation, improve on your security, and get better information around your CVE fixes, improved deployment of your applications through standardized release flows and automated triage pipelines where the feedback loop is consistent and constant. Very, very critical areas that need a lot of attention to do well at all times. So to summarize, I think one of the things that I should emphasize is that keep your pillars of DevOps in mind: continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous testing, continuous security, continuous monitoring, release orchestration, and then metrics. All these aspects of DevOps that are super, super critical to your software development lifecycle are absolutely essential. And with that said, DevOps is not just a set of practices, it's a mindset that transforms collaboration into innovation, turning your challenges into opportunities for growth, right? And so don't look at DevOps as a thing. Don't look at DevOps as a book. It literally is a collaboration of many people, processes, and tools. And I would highly recommend that you go out and read and look at how DevOps can transform your organization if you're not already doing that. I thank you for your time, your interest in learning about DevOps in general. If there's anything I can do to help, please do reach out. I appreciate your time again once and your attention. Have a great day.